In the early 2000s, game developers started to notice that by using a free-to-play approach to monetization, games would end up making more money. It took a while for this to become mainstream because it's counterintuitive that you would end up making more money by giving away your game for free than you would for charging people for it, but the statistics were so overwhelming that game developers eventually caught on, and now the majority of video games are free-to-play. However, even though most games are free-to-play, a lot of them set up their models to where they're either pay to win, exploitive to gambling addictions, or use nagware strategies to get players to spend money. These tactics annoy players and often take away from the quality of those games. Sometime around the origin of League of Legends in 2009 and Fortnite in 2017, game developers realized that they could further maximize their profits by creating free-to-play models that use none of these annoying tactics. This is also counterintuitive, and it is harder to pinpoint with data, so even though most of the biggest game companies are switching over, I doubt this model will ever become quite as mainstream as the original free-to-play model is now. To describe this more player-friendly free-to-play model, I will coin the term zero pay to win. After studying and analyzing what these big companies are doing, I have found that there are currently 4 types of zero pay to win. The first and oldest type of zero pay to win is to allow a player to speed up their progress to a goal that is also attainable to a player that doesn't spend money. The most common example of this is an experience boost. These usually double the amount of experience you get, and they are not considered pay to win as long as the max level is attainable to someone that doesn't purchase the experience boost. This doesn't just apply to experience levels. A game developer can even give resources to a player as long as it is set up in a way that a free-to-play player will be able to catch up, because the need for those resources is limited to an attainable cap. Now, what is an attainable cap can often be debated, and it is highly dependent on the game that you are talking about. But it usually means that something can be achieved with between 60 to 270 hours of playing. So this is the first type of zero pay to win. It is my least favorite of the 4 types because it is so subjective, but it can be done well if game developers are conservative with their approach to it. The second type of zero pay to win is based on convenience. The most common example of this is for a game developer to set up rewards for watching ads and then allow players to pay to get out of watching those ads. But there are a lot of other ways to do this as well. A convenience-based option is anything that makes things easier for a player but does not give them a functional advantage. Examples of this include fast travel, prioritized server entry, and automatic farming. Though it is important to note that all of those examples can lend a functional advantage if they are set up poorly. You can even give free resources to players in a way that is considered just convenience, as long as you give them resources that are really easy to farm and you make sure that they can't get those resources in addition to also farming. The third type of zero pay to win is what I'd call different but equal. In this strategy, game developers create several different types of playable characters that are all unique but equally balanced in power levels. All of these characters are available to the player if they do the necessary tasks to unlock them, but it might be impossible for a player to unlock all of them without spending money. This is not considered pay to win because players can earn their favorite options and still reach the top of the leaderboard if they get good enough at those options. The most famous example of this is of course League of Legends, and now dozens of other games have copied them. But it is important to note that if you set up your game this way, you need to make sure that your leaderboard is not all option inclusive. A recent example of this mistake is in Brawl Stars, where the developers made the leaderboard include the trophy levels of all of their brawlers, making a game that could have been a perfect example of this approach to monetization into a game that is pay to win. Which is really sad because all they had to do is make the leaderboard based on the trophy level of one brawler and make all the brawlers compete. The fourth and final type of zero pay to win is through the use of skins. This is by far the least controversial of the 4 types, and it has been recently made extremely famous through Fortnite and other games that have copied them. In this approach, game developers create really awesome aesthetic variations of the characters, vehicles, weapons, and other items of their game so that players can look cooler while playing the game. This appeals to a lot of players who want to personally express themselves through their gaming experience, and it seems to be more successful in relation to the quality of the game. It also seems to be more successful in games that are zero pay to win because most players will choose resources over skins if they have to pick between the two, but they don't often spend as much on resources because the purchase threshold is less finite. So those are the 4 types of zero pay to win. and the data is showing that mainstream games using a zero pay to win approach make more money than those that don't. So if you are a game developer, I would strongly recommend looking into that data and then designing your monetization approach around these 4 strategies. If you are not a game developer but have a game that you like and want the devs to make it zero pay to win, then feel free to share this video with them. I think they will find the data presented in this video interesting and hopefully take it serious. Also, if you are a developer of a game that is not zero pay to win and you want it to be but you aren't sure how to apply the information in this video, I would be willing to help you come up with 1 or more strategies that are specifically tailored to your game, just like I did in this video where I helped Kefir come up with a strategy designed for Last Day on Earth. Well, that's it guys. Hope this video helps players and game developers both get what they want. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.